we've got to get to what matters, Kins. We've got to get to what matters. Now, we've got to begin with the letter that Meghan wrote and had delivered to her father. We do not know who these carrier pigeons are, but the main takeaway that we know thus far, according to one insider, is that Meghan, quote, agonized over every single line. I'm sure she did. And that it, quote, reads more like a press release than a private letter. And the smash cut to what the outcome of this whole thing is Meghan has said she's got no intentions of visiting her father in the hospital now or ever, and it's over. They're not going to reconcile. Merry Christmas to you, Thomas Markle. Merry Christmas. Kinsey, what do you make of it?
I know. And I mean, the Times in London had some exclusive sourcing clearly from the Markle camp, where we did get a little bit of insight into what was in that letter. And she says she's never going to reconcile with him and that she's not calling him because she doesn't want to be overheard. And that her ultimate issue is that, you know, he talks to the media. Well, girl, somebody from your team is talking to the media because the Times sure has incredible details about what's going on inside of this
People
letter.
magazine always has the latest what's going on in Meghan's head. I wonder how.
Exactly. The hypocrisy is just adorable. But yeah, you know, you would think that the letter would say something along the lines of, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I wish you weren't going through this. You know, you've talked to so many experts on your program about narcissism. And one thing that I saw a lot of people say before she actually sent the letter was, usually these are the type of events that just clears the slate and it brings people back together. Not Meghan Markle. This bitch can hold a grudge. Okay. And so to send your father, who's could be on his deathbed. He's not in the clear yet, and she doesn't know his status, except for the maybe one or two calls to the embassy to ensure that he's signing legal documents. We don't know if he's okay, and the fact that maybe her last correspondence to him is a breakup letter is kind of BS.
It's so cold-hearted. You know, I wanted to read part of this to you. It was a piece that came out of the Sunday New York Post, and I talked to Rob Sheffield a little bit about, Rob Shooter about this from the sort of Hollywood angle of it, you know, but this is a woman who we know if there's going to be a death this year, and I'm just going to say it because I don't mean to be crass, but this is what I think Meghan thinks, okay? If you have to choose between Thomas Markle or her Netflix deal, only one of them can live. It would be the Netflix deal, I think. And
if she had to choose between Thomas Markle or King Charles, you know who she'd pick. Why? Because one is still of value to her, and that's King Charles.
Exactly right. And this fuckwit, this absolute twat has not the capability to realize if you want a scintilla of a shot at salvaging anything with Netflix, you've got a holiday special promoting family and warmth over there and it's flopping hard and your father just got his leg amputated and is saying, just please see me before I die. And your answer to that is to send a letter that basically says, fuck off and leave me alone. My interpretation. How does she think she's going to get forward any kind of traction in Hollywood after this? At all?
Well, I mean, we know she is sniffing around Jeff Bezos. She's in that. She's got a cameo in a new MGM film. You know, I think she realizes that her days at Netflix are numbered. And so she's desperately trying to position herself in front of anybody else that could give her a deal. But you and I, we've been covering this for so long. Remember during that podcasting conference where some bigwig agents said, turns out Meghan Markle's not just not a podcasting talent, but she's not really talented at all.
She's not any kind of talent at all.
Any kind of talent. I really feel like that defines Meghan Markle, and anybody in Hollywood should see that the return on investment is not there. There's a difference between being influential and liked and infamous, and Meghan falls under the infamous category.
You know, the year began, and I remember this actually. It feels like the blink of an eye, Kinsey, but you texted this to me right around New Year's. Meghan posted a video of herself on Instagram running on the beach with her back to the camera lens, dressed all in white, billowing white man's shirt, white jeans, running to the shoreline and jauntily writing in huge numbers in the wet sand, 2025, as if this was going to be her year. What a year it's been for her. First, we had Confessions of a Female Flounder. That's what I'm naming it. That's what I'm going to refer to it in perpetuity as. It's Confessions of a Female Flounder, and that flopped. And Lemonada said, we will not be renewing it. Then With Love Meghan came out, and then the real With Love Meghan came out, Meghan with a Y, and we demolished her in numbers and eyeballs, okay? Demolished. And then the Vanity Fair, the wildfires, the disaster tourism, talk about that a little bit, about the shit they caught for being what are known as disaster tourists in LA.
Yeah, well, the Palisades fire broke out, and Harry and Meghan went over to Pasadena. And there's a podcaster I know whose wife and daughter were volunteering at the time, and he said that his wife and daughter were told to pause their efforts so that Harry and Meghan could have a private tour of the destruction.
Are you kidding me?
No. Real people there giving their time to work.
Real residents, people who have suffered along with their community, just doing hard physical, emotional, economic work in the wake of this wreckage. And these two assholes tell everybody else to stand down because they need a private fucking tour.
Yeah, exactly. And it was Justine Bateman that's like, you're not working royals. You don't even live in Pasadena. What are you doing here? You're disaster tourists.
That's right.
This conflicts with Meghan's launch of With Love Meghan season 1. And I also just forgot, it's like every time she is fixated on a date and decides she wants to release something on that date, something catastrophic happens that, anybody in their right mind would go, I'm going to pause. In this instance, she did. But on January 1st, Harry's nanny, Tiggy Leg Burke, her stepson was murdered.
That's
in
right.
that New Orleans terror attack. And instead of pumping the brakes and going, you know what? Instead of making this all about me and relaunching my Instagram, I'm going to allow Tiggy. Tiggy, by the way, is Archie's godmother. So you'd think you'd have any sort of sense or compassion or empathy whatsoever. Then we've got the wildfires. Now, this is where Netflix steps in and says, hell to the no. Let's pause your show because it looks horrible if we're showing all of these visuals that have been burned to a crisp since we shot this show. And so they do pause it there. But if we actually sat down and went through the Meghan Markle timeline, Meghan releasing a wine on Princess Diana's birthday, who died at the hands of a drunk driver, so many of these dates conflict with major incidents or historical incidents that anyone in their right mind would be like, is this a sign? Is this a sign? Should I just throw in the towel?
I know. You're so right about that. Let's talk a little bit about what I think was it landed in the summer, if I recall correctly, and it really was an indisputable piece of evidence that the American mainstream media, the streamers are doing whatever they're doing to get the contract fulfilled, whatever. But the media itself has really had it with those two. They put Harry and Meghan on the cover, and the headline was American Hustle.
Yeah.
And it was all about the ways in which those two have never truly followed through with any of the business partners who have given them hundreds of millions of dollars to produce what they promised they're going to produce, and how at the end of the day, there really is no there with either one of them.
And that former employees needed therapy. I mean, that was wild.
Yes.
That the attorneys were like, that one will clear. That former employees of Meghan Markle that worked for her via Spotify were so traumatized, and that she was, trying to make edits at the very last minute. And, she was just had very unrealistic expectations. Remember, she had 17 producers on that hideous podcast, Archetypes, which should have been called Stereotypes, because Meghan doesn't know.
Kinsey, how many producers do you have?
I mean, if we're being honest, 0. But I have a booker.
But you produce a podcast that's very popular that people listen to. Zero. Why does this trick need 17 people to and at that, you and I tried listening to the whole thing. It was nearly impossible. It's unlistenable. She is so dull. She's so uninteresting. And it's not the kind of dull where you're like, I think she's trying to make herself as blank of a slate as possible. It's like, this is an incurious, unoriginal mind who's got nothing to say.
Right. Well, and that doesn't know how to do the job, because really in her head, you could tell she was setting the person up so that she could bring it back to herself. The whole objective was, let me tell a story about myself. Oh, you're Mariah Carey? I don't care, because let me get back to myself. And so an incredible piece of work from Vanity Fair, the American Hustlers article, also goes into Harry's weird obsession with hot chocolate, which, that story continues to evolve. How
Spotify going to Netflix. Was it Netflix?
No, but Spotify was so desperate for an idea that they said, you like hot chocolate, why don't you judge hot chocolates while talking to a friend? And he went back and seriously contemplated that idea for a podcast. The Netflix, that comes later from page 6. Later in the year, we find out Harry showed up late to a meeting with Netflix executives and asked for hot chocolate. And they were like, we are all adults here. We do not just have hot chocolate on tap, ready to go for your 40-year-old ass. But don't forget my favorite piece from the Vanity Fair article is the Meghan shopping a post-divorce, post-Harry divorce book around.
Yes.
And the fact that made print, knowing how litigious Harry and Meghan are, that's incredible.
Thank you for reminding us of that, Kinsey, because I wondered what that conversation must have been like at home when Harry, because there are a couple of things I think you just can't come back from this year, but they're still married, and I don't know what the marriage seems strained to me at best. But
wasn't it you that told me that Tom Cruise waited till the day before it was 10 years with Nicole Kidman because of finances?
Yeah,
and I've repeated that since you said that to me. I think you're absolutely right.
But why he doesn't wise up and leave her first? Okay, they're both so litigious. Okay. An American publication asserts in print that your wife has been shopping around a post-divorce memoir to see how many millions she can get for it. She's not suing them. She's very litigious. She's not suing them. What is she saying to him behind closed doors? Oh, Harry, they just made that up. You know how hated I am in America. It's what happened to your mother is going to happen to me, and only you can protect me, probably. And that dimwit fell for it. Same with the lifting of the feet and the crossing of the ankles and the feet up in the chauffeured SUV or limo, whatever, as she drives by Diana's death tunnel and memorializes it on Instagram like it's a flex. Like, what did she say to him? Right. Like, what possibly could she have said to him that would have made any of that remotely okay?
Does he ever stop and go, there's no way you're always the victim? Or does he happily live in that space too, where they just feel like they're constantly under attack and never make mistakes? Because, back to the Meghan letter, Harry and Meghan sold their secrets to Netflix, to Spotify, to Oprah Winfrey. They've done exactly what they're accusing Thomas Markle of. Are they really that delulu? I think the answer is yes.
But really, I cannot wrap my brain around, the reports were that when William saw that footage of Meghan putting her feet up as she drove by Diana's death tunnel, that he was seething with rage. And I can't imagine that Harry, who unlike William has yet, as far as we can see, to truly integrate the death of his mother and move on with his life in a healthy fashion. He perseverates over this. We were just talking recently about how he was hired to give a talk to some real estate brokerage or whatever, and he was talking about his mother and the death of his mother. It's all he talks about. It's all he fixates on. What could she have possibly said to him to make him go, oh, that's totally acceptable. I understand why she did that. I understand why you did that. What do you think?
Well, I know she told him I didn't know. I didn't know I was that close.
You know
That's what
that.
she told him I did not realize where I was when I took that
Are you
video.
kidding?
Yes. And to keep in mind, Harry refuses to go to Paris, you know, in a play unless there's work and it has to be something incredibly important. Harry doesn't go to Paris because he associates it with the death of his mother. Meghan's actually told friends in the past, oh, we can't go to Paris because of the death of Harry's mother. So it's obviously still raw for him. And this is all while he's fighting the UK government saying Meghan Markle isn't safe there. And she's parading around Paris, almost flirting with the idea of paparazzi chasing her with the car shots out the window. And it's all just very bizarre. But yes, I know she told him she did not realize the location she was at.
And he fell for it.
Oh, yeah.
He believed it. He chose to believe it. I think he is in such deep denial. I think deep, deep, deep down, he knows. He knows who he married. I think deep, deep, deep down, he has realized that this woman is unhealthily obsessed with Diana. She's unhealthily, in my opinion, these are just my opinions, obsessed with Catherine, Princess of Wales. This year we saw Catherine rising, the ascendant queen, who has looked resplendent at any number of formal events, state dinners, and who Meghan, it always seems is, we saw this at the end of the year, Catherine at Christmas Together. Christmas Together is her year end
concert, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And her whole family there and loving, and they look beautiful and happy. And that's when Meghan dropped the holiday Netflix special in which her husband makes a cameo at the very end so that Meghan can present to him as she giddily and explains while fairly jumping up and down, we just made a salad for you full of all the ingredients that you fucking hate.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, karma is a B word because Meghan told us during the Fortune's Most Powerful Women event in Washington, D.C. that she was releasing this show in November. And then she moves it, in my opinion, to December to compete with Catherine's Christmas Carol concert and distract from it. The same day, guess what happens? Her father ends up in the hospital because he has to have a major surgery. I mean, is that not karma? Is that not somebody trying to just nip at her for trying to do just something nasty and disrespect Catherine? But I hope we're going to acknowledge the twerking hospital video because I still haven't.
Please, we cannot forget that.
I still haven't recovered from that. And then remember she went on, and I apologize if I don't pronounce this woman's podcast correctly, but Emma Grande, I think the girl that works
Emma
for Kim
Grade. It's Grede. Yeah.
She goes on that podcast and tries to justify the twerking video, and Emma's like, oh my God, it was amazing. All the girls here loved it. And Meghan's like, it's just me being my authentic self. And you're just like, oh my God, the same woman that claims she wants privacy and shows us the back of her kids' faces because she wants that $95,000 that Hillary from Boston got to show her kids' faces. Like, it's just insane. It was so vulgar, so unroyal. And you just have to sit back and ask yourself, what the hell were you thinking?
So this is the kind of thing, again, like I am so happy that the Nerve was born in 2025. You're telling me the story about Meghan on Emma's podcast, and Emma's like, that twerking video with you 9 months pregnant, it was just amazing. We were all talking about how amazing it is. No, it isn't, Emma. It's disgusting. It's meant to diminish and shit on the monarchy. That's what it's meant to do. And it's meant to make anybody who would criticize it be afraid to criticize it because you're going to say you can't have a dancing black pregnant woman. Like we're all racists, and it's not so. Secondly, she says to Emma, as you just quoted, I'm just being my authentic self. When I say these people tell on themselves all the time, they do. First of all, so you're being your authentic self as opposed to what? Your bullshit fake self? So you're just telling us there are two people because you clearly feel the need to differentiate. Most people say, hey, I'm just being myself. I don't even say that. I just am myself. There's no need to narrate that. There's no need for an actual explanation. Like you meet me, I'm myself. That's who I am. You take it or leave it, So she's like her authentic self. Oh my God. Also, I've watched that video over and over, and I think she was never pregnant. That looks like a pillow to me.
It's insane. I mean, why would you, knowing that these stories exist, knowing that people have questioned, and it's constitutionally, it's important to know whether or not these children were born through Meghan Markle's body, because if they weren't, then they should not be in the line of succession. I think it's a fair question. It's a fair thing to ask. Harry and Meghan were so secretive about the birth of Archie. We're already back home in Windsor by the time that they announced that she was in labor. Meghan refusing to do the hospital steps the way that Princess Diana did, the way that Catherine did. So Meghan was so secretive about the birth of Archie. They were, of course, secretive about the birth of Lily. And constitutionally, especially when these two this year were out of control, insisting those children have their titles on their passports, on UK passports. It is an important question. So why would you put a video out there that just ignites the fire and has people asking whether or not you truly were pregnant again? Nothing makes sense that they do. They are a PR crisis team's worst nightmare.
So let me ask you this, Kinsey, because these are rumors and reports that I've been reading in the wake of Thomas Markle's hospitalization. I don't know if there's any truth to them or not. But I've read, again, don't know that this is true or not. We're just saying that these are things that are out there, that Meghan allegedly had a hysterectomy, possibly in her 20s, and that Thomas knows about it. And that is a secret that she is desperate to stay a secret, because what if, as has been theorized, she helped hasten Harry to the altar by saying she was pregnant?
Oh, I mean, that's all very interesting. What I can say about that is that it is my understanding that Thomas Markle Jr. has made a similar allegation. That is her half brother. And it would make sense to me that she continues to try to discredit her DNA, her family members, who are really the only ones willing to correct this fantasy that she's created, this backstory that she's created, and that continues to evolve. I was saying earlier, it seems like other people in her life, like Trevor Ingleson, just think she's so toxic that they don't want to be associated with her. They don't want to correct the record. Whereas her family, they've got nothing to lose. They are drugged through the mud constantly, so they do speak out against her. And I believe that Thomas Markle Jr. has said that on his YouTube page. Do I know if there's any validity to it? I don't.
Do we know if she has sent any sort of legal threat or initiated any kind of defamation lawsuit against Thomas Markle Jr.?
No, she has not. She is fighting with Samantha, and Samantha instigated that, but she really doesn't acknowledge Thomas Markle Jr. at all.
I'm going to tell you about a new documentary that I've recently watched. It's called Thank You, Dr. Fauci, and it is a deep dive into the origins of COVID-19, a potential bioarms race with China, and what could be the biggest public health deception in modern history. Award-winning filmmaker Jenna Furst pores over documents and grills scientists, intelligence experts, and whistleblowers. This is not a left-wing or a right-wing film. It is a film about accountability. This is a compelling investigative work. It is urgent, it is unsettling, eye-opening, and is now streaming on Angel Studios. It is a must watch if you have ever wondered, as all of us do, what really goes on behind closed doors. You will not want to miss this. Most alarming, the layers of institutional secrecy and the courage it takes to challenge those. Angel Studios is the only platform bold enough to release this, thanks to Guild members who vote on real stories. It's already available on Angel, so be ready to watch, question, and share. If you are ready to demand transparency, join the Angel Guild at angel.com/nerve. Become a member, stream Thank You, Dr. Fauci, and be part of the conversation demanding truth and accountability.